Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part 1 of 2 of What If Deku had a godly wind quirk. As always, if you guys enjoy, please show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Please check the links in the description as well for the Spotify, for the Discord, for the membership, if you guys want to check that out as well. All that stuff, all of it helps me, all of it helps the channel. And like I've said before, I do have full intentions of doing other animes. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, when I'm gonna do it, and I'm kind of like, everywhere at the moment. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to approach things. But of course, though, I hope you guys enjoy nonetheless. And if you do, please show some love. And I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into it. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya would be born into a world full of superpowers known as quirks. These superpowers, these quirks, would vary from person to person. But Izuku, he would have a quirk that would be a very interesting one and make him, for the most part, want to truly be one with the sky. It might sound odd, it might sound weird, but at the age of 4, he would actually be diagnosed with his quirk, and they would wonder, what exactly can he do? And a lot of people, well, they're thinking that it has a lot to do with probably wind or air, right? That's most likely what it is. And one day he was actually flying on a plane with his mother. It was a cheap seat and stuff like that, but he was looking out the window. His hand would hit the glass, and he would wonder what it would feel like to be out there. What it would feel like to truly go outside. And as he feels this kind of feeling that he really kind of urges himself to go out there into the sky, he would feel the wind. The wind itself would be trying to scratch and claw its way into the actual plane. And eventually, the door of the plane would swing open. Everybody would grab on and hold on for dear life. And Izuku, he would immediately see it and walk straight toward it. The wind not affecting him at all. And he would just immediately step out as his mother would try to grab him. But Izuku would already be gone, and the door would instantly close, saving everybody within so they wouldn't get hurt. And they would actually be able to, to catch their breaths. No pun intended. But Izuku would be flying right outside the plane, waving to his mother, and would be in shock, would be smiling from ear to ear, and would be just spinning and flooding and kind of flurrying all around. And of course, she would be honestly just losing her mind about this, like thinking, you're going to get hurt. What are you doing? Like, this is insane. But of course, Izuku, he's completely fine. Eventually, the plane would land, and he would land as well, meeting up with his mother, and his mother would tell him to never do something like that ever again. Not right like that. Don't ever do something like that. In which Izuku looks at her and says, I understand, but I'm not the one that opened that door. The wind opened the door. I didn't do anything. In which she thinks like, whoa, maybe his powers are beyond what they all thought, but tells him to be careful, be safe, and make sure to truly understand what your powers can do, and that they're going to get him into training ASAP. And this actually is perfect because they have him going to like specialized quirk training, where people, they study your quirk a little bit, and then they try to like give you some sort of plan, you could say, right? Some sort of plan that would help you in the future with learning your quirk, getting better at your quirk, and so on and so forth. And that's exactly what they're going to do for Izuku Midoriya. And he begins training throughout the years, learning what his quirk can do, learning how he can utilize it. He begins flying, he begins shooting gusts of wind, creating small tornadoes, all of these things that are absolutely insanity and absolutely just insane to think about that he can even do in the first place. But of course, Izuku, well, he's showing off powers that many people would yearn to have and many people would love to have in general. But obviously, they do not have those type of powers, but Izuku Midoriya does. Showing them off day in and day out, showing them that, that he can really do some insane and also amazing things. And, well, let's just say he starts getting noticed by people pretty damn quickly. Heroes and agencies alike realizing the kid has some insane amounts of potential, and well, let's just say they do kind of make it so that he goes off the grid a little bit, just because he's not supposed to be using his quirk as much as he's using it. But Izuku, day in and day out, flies from school to school, and also just in general utilizes his quirk for constant travel. And as he gets older, and as he enters middle school, everybody would be pretty fond of Izuku, and well, him and Bakugo would be pretty decent friends. Now, Izuku would definitely be a more nice and kind of confident person, and he would be telling Bakugo, like, you gotta chill out, you know, don't yell at people the way you yell at people, calm down, like, everything's gonna be alright, and blah blah blah. And of course, well, Bakugo doesn't take this too lightly. I mean, Bakugo still gets a little bit frustrated with Izuku, thinking that he's better than him, and that he's this, and that he's that. But Bakugo's like, look, man, or Izuku's like, look, man, I'm not trying to think that I'm better than you. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I don't even care about all that. I just need you to, like, take it back a notch in terms of the way you treat people. In which, of course, Bakugo does respect this to a certain extent, because Izuku, well, he has the gall to, you know, stand up to him to a large degree. And of course, Izuku just continues to be a good friend to Bakugo. And as they finish up middle school, as they have their career aptitude tests, you know, where the teacher's basically saying, like, no, like, I know that everyone wants to be a hero, Izuku would head home that day. And, well, this is where things are a little bit different, because Izuku would be just leaving home. I mean, or leaving to home. He wouldn't go underneath no bridge, no underneath anything. So he would just head out. And as he heads out and heads home, he would turn on his TV to see something. To see that the sludge villain is attacking. The sludge villain is attacking and has a kid actually within his body. In which it's insane to see and insane to think about. And he wonders, who is it? And then he gets a good look. It's Katsuki Bakugo. He can't believe it. It's his friend, his best friend. It's Kachan. He has to do something, and as he's thinking about doing something, well, All Might would come out of nowhere and punch a hole through the sludge villain and immediately defeat it. And for the most part, just would handle it in general. In which Izuku would be watching on the television and would be in shock. There's just no way All Might was able to do it in one foul swoop. All Might was able to handle it so easily. I mean, truly, that's amazing. I can't believe it. I can't believe that they were able to do it. I can't believe that he was able to can't believe he was able to just beat that thing in one foul swoop. I mean, it is All Might, though. I mean, who's to say that he won't easily be able to do something like that all the time? In which Izuku is just thinking, like, wow, that was really amazing. I mean, I can't believe how strong All Might truly is. But overall, it's like, this is just an amazing thing to take all in. An amazing thing in general, because All Might is just awesome. All Might is just amazing to watch. And Izuku just is happy that not only that he got to see All Might do what he did, but also happy that he got to see basically Bakugo be saved, because he didn't want Bakugo to get hurt or anything like that. He definitely didn't want him to get hurt. Definitely didn't want him to, like, you know, something crazy to happen to him. So it's good that, you know, everything worked out, right? Everything worked out in their favor, excuse me. And it's just good that he didn't end up being hurt massively or injured massively or even killed. That's like the last thing he would have ever wanted for that to happen, or the last thing that he would ever want basically Bakugo to go through. So luckily enough, he doesn't go through anything bad. He gets saved by All Might, and Izuku is just excited to get to training and get better and more prepared for the UA entrance exam. And this time around, Izuku actually starts training with Bakugo. It seems crazy, but it honestly makes the most sense. Bakugo and him begin training together, try to, you know, they fight a couple times, you know, like sparring and stuff like that, but they also just have a beneficial just training regimen with each other, and it's just a good thing for them to really work together in general. And this would lead all the way up until the UA entrance exam, and all this training would prepare them massively for what they're going to go through. And Izuku tells Bakugo that he's going to show him up and that he's going to prove that he's so much stronger than him and that he's going to prove that he's so much better. In which Bakugo says, yeah, sure. And, well, of course, they're excited to see who does better. So they go in, they take their written portion, and of course, this would lead them to the practical as well. And Izuku Midoriya begins to fly out of the gates just as the gates would open, and he would begin absolutely destroying every single robot he sees, pushing them over, slicing through them with wind like slices in a way. And he begins to just send all these attacks over and over and over again, and he cuts through them like butter. And Izuku, well, he actually helps save a bunch of people as well, using his wind to just sweep them up off their feet and get them out of harm's way if need be. And that includes Ochako Uraraka, who is stuck under rubble, and which he clears out very easily and just floats her all the way to Recovery Girl, where while the 0 Point robot is currently chasing them. But luckily, the exam is about to be over, and the exam is, finished up in general, and now everyone is all safe and able now, and everything is just a-okay. Now, after all this is said and done, after all this is finished, and after all this is basically done and dusted, Izuku Midoriya is excited to see what kind of score he truly got, and the score would be outrageous for him. Actually, so much so that All Might on a hologram would even tell him that he got the number 1 score. The number 1 in the UA entrance exam, the number 1 score in general. And he is happy to hear this, and he is so happy that he was able to get to that extent, and he was so happy that he was able to level up to that degree, and his quirk just seems to go higher and higher and higher, and the skill with his quirk seems to just evolve more and more and more, and this right here just makes him obviously extremely happy. But many people that are watching, many people that are checking this out, and many people that are keeping a close eye on Izuku Midoriya believe that the power that he's showing might just be the next true level of everything to kind of be the end all be all in terms of power. And Izuku Midoriya is living it. He is living in that degree, and everybody's thinking that his power might even be stronger than someone they saw at the kind of the other version of the UA entrance exam, the kind of recommended portion of the exam. He might even be stronger than that person, which is pretty damn crazy to even think about, because that person, other known as Inasa, is ridiculously powerful, like ridiculously powerful. And it makes basically a lot of these teachers think that the potential that this kid has might be off the charts. Now, this would lead them to obviously just heading home and doing all that normal stuff. And obviously, like I said, Izuku would get into UA, and when the first day of UA would finally arrive, it would be finally time for Izuku to meet his classmates. And the first person he meets, well, is Katsuki Bakugo. It would be no surprise to Izuku that he got in, no surprise that he's, one of the top students, but he does tell Bakugo that he did prove that he is better. He is more capable because he's the one that got the number 1 in the UA entrance exam. In which he shakes his head and he's like, all right, whatever. Like, I know. And he basically tells Izuku off and says that the next time they have, like a chance to compete, that he is going to take him down without a second thought. In which Izuku tells him, like, he'll be waiting. In which, as they're saying all these things, somebody would walk in, or, really, it's Shota Aizawa, their teacher, and he would tell them that they're not going to have to wait much longer because they're going to have a test right now, a quirk assessment test, in which Izuku and Bakugo go out there, and Izuku would start with the ball throw, and he would chuck the ball using his wind quirk or his godly wind quirk, and he would hurl the ball to out of the stratosphere, basically. The wind would pick it up and just carry it all the way out, and he would tell Bakugo that he stands no chance, not when they're utilizing their quirks, and it's just, he's not going to be close to him. Bakugo would try his best, and he would get a pretty high score, but Izuku would just be so much higher than him in terms of how far he actually threw it. Now, of course, Izuku would continue showing off what he can do, and on almost every single aspect, he does better than Bakugo in terms of speed, in terms of kind of quickness, in terms of sidesteps and everything. He's outscoring Bakugo on every regard, and to the point where, yes, he does get a lower score on, like, you know, the more strength inducing things, but he actually still gets number one, way ahead of Bakugo, and even gets number one ahead of many others as well, which would absolutely shock so many. But many people there are thinking, like, this guy is the real deal. Like, this is pretty insane. And Izuku can continue showing why he's better than Bakugo the very next day when they take each other on. Because it's heroes versus villains, Izuku and Ochako versus, well, Bakugo and Tenya Ida. And this isn't a close one either. Izuku utilizes his powers to take down Bakugo quickly, and even utilizes his powers to kind of just fight off Bakugo and push him around. And Izuku just basically tells him, like, look, man, like, you're strong, you're powerful, but it doesn't mean you're good enough to take me on. It doesn't mean you're strong enough to take me on. And this obviously pisses off Bakugo, but it's like, what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to say? All he can do is work harder. All he can do is be better. And it's all he can think about is the fact that he's falling short, and he has to really step it up. He has to really and truly step it up to the plate. And yes, this is good for Bakugo, but at the same time, Bakugo, well, will he ever catch up? And that's a thought that goes through his head quite a bit, but it's not a thought that he's going to hold on to long enough, because he's going to push himself to a large degree. But after being defeated in the heroes versus villains, or basically being defeated by Izuku again, and them touching the bomb in a matter of like a minute and a half, all he's thinking about is the next time he's going to be able to take on Izuku. But the next time isn't going to be for a little bit, because he has to actually, or they all are going to be doing stuff at the USJ, or basically the USJ is the rescue facility. So they got some stuff going on, and they have some time before they actually have to or can take on each other once again. So he has to wait a little bit. He has to wait a little bit of time, but he'll be able to get his chance eventually, and he'll be able to get his chance to get his hands on Izuku sooner rather than later. But the USJ would be a chance for them to learn rescue training. The USJ would be a chance for them to learn so much that they really didn't know, so much that they needed to figure out, and so much that they had to truly learn in general. And that's going to be their chance to kind of learn more about this rescue portion of things, and this rescue portion of what hero work truly is. But the thing is, when they're about to begin, when they're actually going to be able to, do this rescue portion regarding kind of, different scenarios, different things, they would run into an issue involving villains, because portals would open and villains would invade, and the USJ would no longer be safe, and everybody would be sitting there in complete and utter shock, thinking that this can't be happening. How are the villains invading? How are villains here in what's supposed to be a safe area? There must be someone communicating with them. There must be someone who tipped them off. But Izuku Midoriya isn't thinking about any of that. He's thinking about how they're going to stop these villains and what they're going to do but to put them in their place. And Izuku looks at Aizawa as Aizawa would jump off to basically take on these villains, and Izuku himself would be thinking that he should go help, that he should help out, in which he's about to, but then would get teleported to a new area where he is surrounded by water in a lake, but he's able to utilize his wind powers to just move around easily, flying above everyone and grabbing Asui and Mineta to fly them to safety. But as he does this, he creates a tornado that basically spirals all the villains inside of it, and he begins to create kind of this hurricane as he begins bringing this watery tornado out of the lake itself, dragging all this water and sending it toward the villains. The villains begin to spiral and get slapped around and gets thrown all around, clearing out a large chunk of the villains for Aizawa. And Aizawa realizes that the kid in one foul swoop was able to take down so many of these villains. And as well, the Nomu is going to make his attack, and as the Nomu is about to take down Aizawa, well, Izuku would stop the Nomu in his tracks, making it so that the air around him was thicker and he was unable to move. Izuku would tell Asui and Mineta to get out of here as they would head out, and Izuku holds the Nomu still. He holds the Nomu still entirely, and he tells Aizawa that he won't be able to hold him forever, so he might want to go take care of those villains, as he looks towards Shigaraki, in which Aizawa would do just that, going towards Shigaraki and canceling his quirk so that, for one, he can't hurt Izuku, and for two, so that he has an easier time taking him down. Izuku would have a way of opening or make openings for Aizawa as well, letting the Nomu go as he would dodge the Nomu flying up, as he would immediately smack Shigaraki and Kurogiri with a large gust of wind, sending them flying toward a wall as it would slam into it, and Aizawa would wrap them up in his scarf. The Nomu would try to attack him again, but Izuku would basically freeze him once again, stopping him entirely, or stopping the Nomu entirely. And, well, Izuku is just making short work of these villains as he's helping out basically massively and helping out everyone he possibly can during this time. And eventually, well, there's one person that would show up, one person that could take on the Nomu, and that is All Might. All Might comes spiraling in and takes multiple free shots at the Nomu as Izuku is basically holding him still, actually defeating the Nomu quicker than usual because Izuku is able to hold him still and make it so that the Nomu cannot move. This would lead to Izuku capturing and or kind of making sure that Shigaraki and Kurogiri cannot move as well, leading to them getting captured by heroes that would eventually arrive, leading to the USJ being the last stop for, obviously, the villains. And yes, the person that is, the traitor might have given them the kind of idea of who, where they're going to be, what their quirks are to an extent, but it doesn't mean that it was enough information to stop what they did. It doesn't mean there was enough information to stop Izuku from doing what he did, or stop Izuku from handling things the way he knows how to handle them, which is a pretty crazy thing. And even Shigaraki feels that they were massively underprepared for a situation like this. Who would have known a literal kid like Izuku Midoriya would have the power that he does and would be able to stop them in their tracks with only the wind. Just like that, they were defeated, and it would piss them the hell off. And All For One himself, he would be watching closely, wondering and thinking that he needs to do something. How could they lose so many proper assets that he has in one foul swoop? The Nomu basically did nothing, and it would piss him off to no degree, like no limit. It would piss him off insanely in insane amounts, and he would be wondering what he's gonna have to do to make sure that All Might stays down, which he doesn't necessarily know how exactly and what exactly happened and who was the real key factor there, but he does know All Might survived. Not only that, he defeated the Nomu and also defeated the other villains, so he knows there's an issue and he knows there's a problem. He just has to make sure that he's ready for those problems. And he'll continue watching and continue paying attention, especially when the UA Sports Festival would eventually arrive. The UA Sports Festival is a chance for many of these students to show off what they can do, and Izuku Midoriya is taking full advantage. He starts with his, speech, because he is the number one student. He tells everybody what he's going to do, what he's capable of, and that they're truly going to give one hell of a show. But on top of that, he tells them all that he's going to prove that he is the number one. He's going to prove that he is better than every single first year standing here today, in which everyone's pretty excited to see what he can really do, and pretty excited in general to see what he's capable of, especially if you're going to say the things that you say. And, well, for starters, he would start out by easily bypassing the obstacle course race, flying through at insane speeds. And on top of that, the cavalry battle with a team of Tokiyami, Ochaku Uraraka, and Meihatsume would easily win when he just has the wind pick them up into the sky and nobody can even come get them. Bakugo does try, but as he does, he would get slammed back toward the ground, and he would realize quickly that getting the headband from Izuku Midoriya is not the best course of action and is not the best idea when dealing when trying to take him down. It's probably a dumb idea to try to fly up there and defeat him by himself, so he's gonna refrain from doing so, and he's going to think a little bit about what he should do instead of just running in head first like an absolute idiot, which he does that from time to time, and he does have a tendency of doing that. So he's gonna hold off on doing that to a certain extent, and hold off on just running in there blind, or running in there without really a second thought and trying to defeat Izuku just because he's angry about the fact that Izuku has taken him down, and angry at the fact that Izuku has taken him down before. So he tries to plan a little bit better, tries to set himself up a little bit better, and prepare himself for things as well. And that's the reality of it. He still passes on to the next thing. He's still, he goes back to basically trying to get other people's headbands and stuff like that. And eventually he would pass on to that next portion, which would be the 1 versus 1s. And all he can think about is taking on Izuku Midoriya. All he can think about is really taking him on and beating him and showing everybody here that he's stronger and that he's better. But Izuku, he has to face off with a couple people before that happens. And for starters, it starts with Shinso, which, of course, he is prepared for Shinso with that. People do tell him, his classmates do tell him what he could do, what happened, and what is going on. So Izuku just pushes him straight out of the ring. And when he takes on Todoroki, it's a little bit more difficult. Yes, he doesn't have, it's not super easy just to push Todoroki off the stage, but he still is able to handle Todoroki's ice blast with his wind, dodging here and there, but also exploding them if he needs to with his wind, eventually leading him to getting an opening where he holds Todoroki still, making it so Todoroki can't even utilize his quirk, and he pushes Todoroki right off of the stage, and he would end their fight almost instantly. And of course, when he faces off with Tenya Ida, it's some of the same things we've been saying. The wind, the speed, and all of the power he has utilizing the wind that's around him makes him borderline the god of the skies. And Izuku would fly from above, and he would smack Tenya Ida right off the stage, defeating him as well. But there's one person that's been having just as much success as Izuku, and that is Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo would face off with Izuku, and this seems to be the battle he's been wanting for a long time. And Bakugo tells him that this time around, he's going to get the upper hand. And Bakugo, well, he not only, for starters, he saves himself multiple times from being eliminated quickly with Izuku's wind. He saves himself, blasting himself back up. And this would lead Izuku to, continue his onslaught of utilizing the wind, flying around. And it's a spectacle to watch. They give one hell of a show as they're flying around, fighting each other, explosions going off. But eventually, Bakugo would get into a bad spot and would get immediately just smacked across the stage by Izuku's wind. And Izuku would follow up with a kick to the stomach, and immediately with a punch straight to the ground, as he would go straight off the stage and Izuku Midoriya would eliminate Katsuki Bakugo from the UA Sports Festival and would defeat him right then and right there. And everybody cheers his name, and everybody tells him, or everybody knows, that he was dead serious when he was saying that he was going to be the number one. He was going to prove that he was the number one, and that he was going to basically be the next big thing. And he shows everyone the capabilities, the potential, and everything that he can truly do. And it seems like Izuku was not bluffing. He was not kidding. Izuku Midoriya is next up. And everybody, let's just say every single agency, every single hero begins sending more and more letters, begins sending everything they possibly can to get this kid at their agency. And this kid, well, he's the next big thing. At least that's what many people believe. And yes, there is quite a few, things for him to think about. Quite a few things for Izuku to figure out. Where is he going to go? What is he going to do? And he has a lot of choices. But Izuku decides his choice pretty quickly, because he would actually get an offer from somebody he wasn't expecting. An offer from somebody that he knows and hears from All Might that is actually his, sensei, his teacher. And that is Gran Torino. It might seem weird, but Izuku has really thought highly of All Might, especially after the day that he saved Bakugo. So the fact that he has a chance of actually working with All Might's past sensei, he cannot let that down. He cannot let that slip. So he immediately would go work with Gran Torino, even if it ends up being kind of an odd situation with him acting like he's, an old man that doesn't know anything. But he still learns quite a bit from him. He might not have One for All, He might not have the powers of All Might, but Gran Torino teaches him quite a bit in terms of kind of knowing and learning and figuring out how to use his quirk, similar to the way Gran Torino kind of dashes around and kicks people in the face and does all those things. And it's honestly perfect. Like, it's perfect for Izuku to learn, and perfect for Izuku to learn even more than he thought in the first place. And it's pretty damn impressive, the kind of level that Izuku kind of gets to in terms of his hand-to-hand combat and his ability. And that right there is very important as well. Very important. And Izuku is excited to see the level he is getting to, because he doesn't want to just, rely on his raw power. He wants to have skill. He wants to rely on that skill when things get tough. He wants to rely on that skill when he can't just utilize his wind all willy-nilly. But, of course, after every single training session, Izuku would be flying to the skies, and he would just sit up there. Every day, he would basically sit up there, gather his thoughts, figure out what he could do better, figure out what he believes he could do better, and figure out figure out how good he could truly be, or how good he really is. And overall, he's figuring out everything he's learned, everything to a large degree, and he's figuring it all out. That's what he's doing right now, and he's truly getting to a point where he's really happy. Izuku's chances of being better, being stronger, being more capable just continue to go up and up and up and up, and Izuku just proves day in and day out that he can really do the things that other heroes, even some other pro heroes, wish they could truly do. And Izuku, he continues his training with Gran Torino, eventually leading them to going off to Hosu City. And this is where things get pretty damn insane, because when he goes off to face off or to basically go help with Hosu City and everything that's happening, there's a ton of basically various different Nomus, but also a fight that is happening, and a fight that he comes across, and luckily he does, and that is the Hero Killer. Just as the Hero Killer is about to stab Tenya Ida straight through the back, he's able to stop him, able to halt him, and he stops him from actually hurting his friend. It stops him from hurting basically Tenya Ida, and he halts him entirely, freezing him in place, and he tells Tenya to don't do anything stupid. Stay there, don't move, and don't get yourself killed, in which Tenya sees a frozen hero killer, and he wonders, what if he just ends him? He can end him right now. What's going to happen? You know, what are they going to do? In which Izuku looks at Tenya and basically can tell that he's going to do something stupid, and he tells him, don't do it. Don't do anything dumb, like you're going to get yourself hurt, or worse, you're going to do something you will regret for the rest of your life. In which he makes that very clear with him and makes it very obvious that he should just not do what he's about to do. But before you know it, Tenya goes for that killing blow on the hero killer with a kick to the head, but Izuku stops him, pushing him away, and he tells him that he just made a mistake, that he really made a mistake. He gave him an opportunity to stop, to think, and to really grieve what happened to his brother, and it's obvious that that's why he's here. And he shakes his head as eventually everybody would arrive and they would be able to capture the hero killer, and Izuku would tell him that they need to talk to Tenya, and they need to basically tell Aizawa what he decided to do, and tell Aizawa what they did or what he did. And that's exactly what they end up doing. They end up telling them, or telling basically Aizawa what happened, and you know, stuff like that. And Tenya is basically forced into basically figuring out what he truly wants to do. Basically forced into figuring out what he is going to do, because he can't just sit around. He can't just like think that what he did was okay, and he can't just think that what he did was gonna go unpunished. So he would definitely get in trouble, and he would definitely get in trouble before the actual exam, or before the final exam that is up and coming. But Izuku has his own exam to worry about. Izuku Midoriya has so much to basically get ahead of sooner than you could possibly imagine. And his plans for the exam are pretty simple. That's until he realizes that they're actually doing they're not being able to fight robots. Their practical is actually against the teachers, and Izuku is going to be facing off with Aizawa. And this is a pretty damn shocker, but does make kind of sense, because you cancel Izuku's quirk and a lot of his powers will go away. And at least that's what Aizawa is thinking, at least at the moment. And him and also Momoya Yorozu would be taking on Shota Aizawa. And as this fight would be occurring, Izuku would try to find a way to basically put them in a proper situation. But of course, with his utilization of his wind powers, he's able to check when and where Aizawa's blind spots are. And on top of that, during this time, he's kind of trying to set up traps, trying to set up situations where Aizawa would get distracted / put in a situation where he can be kind of overloaded. And Izuku, well, he eventually finds a way around this. As long as Aizawa is not looking at him, he'll be just fine. So what he does is he makes it so that he is covered in something or can no longer be seen, and overwhelms Aizawa with a ton of wind. Not to necessarily hurt him or even stop him, but to get his eyes drier and drier and more irritated, so that he can no longer use his quirk, giving an opening for both Momo and also Izuku to take him down, forcing him into a bad spot and making it so Aizawa is completely wrapped up in his own scarf, or a pseudo scarf, and Izuku would basically trap him entirely with his wind and put him in a spot where he no longer can affect them, and Izuku and Momo would escape out the area, and they would be deemed the winner of their own exam. But this is just in time for them to watch as Bakugo and Todoroki take on All Might. And it's a pretty damn awesome spectacle, but it's not a spectacle that would lead in their favor, and not a spectacle that would mean for them to win, and Bakugo and Todoroki would end up falling short against All Might. But since they were going against All Might, they are given a little bit of leniency and a little bit of, leeway in terms of what they can do and in terms of, if they pass or fail. But this would all lead up to the Forest Training Camp, where the Forest Training Camp, they would not only get an amazing amount of training and basically a spectacular amount of chances to learn and get stronger, but another invasion would be upon them sooner than they could possibly imagine, and that invasion will happen when they least expect it. An invasion of Nomus and new villains that they haven't expected to deal with, and it's something they're going to have to deal with sooner than you could imagine at the training camp in the forest. But for now, that's where we're going to leave off part 1 of 2 of What If Deku Had a Godly Wind Quirk. And if you enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.